Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Luke from Guild Umbra. In this video, we're going to touch base on the engineer, the tanking role side, and we're going to talk about some stat priorities. Before I go there, and I'm going to mention this in other videos, I'm going to describe the innate for the engineers, specifically the provoke innate. It's called mode provoke. Passively, it increases your resistances by 5%, your max health by a certain amount, and your threat generation by 200%. Actively, your resources, the engineer, is something called volatility, or I can't say it, but it increases that when you activate provoke. Your provoke mode. It increases your vitality, 10 vitality per second. It also decreases the damage you take by 55%. Lasts for 10 seconds and has a 2.5 minute cooldown. So kind of a long cooldown. But that's the innate, what it does, and passive and active stats that it does. So, but anyway, diving right into stat priorities. Tech would be your first primary stat priority, followed by insight, which is deflect critical hit and deflect rating, followed by grit, which is your base health, followed lastly by brutality, which is your strike through. Secondary stats. I had a point to make, but I'll make it after I've gone through it. Support power is your secondary stat that you always want ahead of everything else. Followed by deflect crit chance, or deflect critical hit chance. Then max health, and then strike through. So okay, talk about a couple things. In the past, I've talked about, like, tech doesn't necessarily translate into threat. It does more damage from your support power abilities, and it does produce more threat. However, the thing you have to watch out for too is that at least all the tanks in the current state of the game are taking a lot of burst damage. So any way you can mitigate damage, some of that burst damage you're taking, go ahead and jump on it, and that's henceforth why I say insight's your second priority. It doesn't necessarily scale well. It takes a lot of it to actually see results, but I find it to be more important. Almost equally as important as your health. It's kind of your buffer for your healer, because when you do take those burst damage, having a good sizable amount of health will help the healer keep up with you a little better. So that's why I say what I say there. At least early on, it's not a bad idea to kind of equalize these stats pretty closely. Maybe giving a bit more priority to insight. And as you go up throughout the game, you need to decide for yourself, if I'm having trouble with threat, is it because I'm not hitting them, or is it because my tech is low? So just something to think about. I think those were the main points I was wanting to touch on with these stat priorities. So in summary, your first primary stat is always going to be tech, because it gives you support power. Second primary stat would be insight, followed by grit, followed by brutality. Secondary stats would be support power, followed by deflect chance, followed by deflect critical hit chance, followed by base health, and then strike through. I put a little less priority on strike through 2, just making another point. And it's not because I don't think it's important. In reality, just thinking out loud, these 3 should be almost equal priority, with brutality followed very closely behind it. And not because of the critical severity rating, because of the strike through. Because as a tank, if I'm having difficulties landing my attacks because of low strike through, I'm not generating the probability of keeping threat on mobs. So it's not that, just because I talk about it as being last in my priority does not mean it's not important. So just throwing that out there. That basically covers the engineer stat priorities for the tanking role. If you like what you saw, please hit that like button on YouTube. If you'd like to, keep up when I go live with more videos, follow me on Twitch. Big Dog LB is the name, and don't ask. It's a nickname I grew up with. But anyhow, I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and got a couple builds that I'm going to be throwing out in the next couple videos, and we'll see how things go. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.